This morning, Sadiq Khan, the newly re-elected mayor of London, said there was an equivalence between Israel and Hamas. Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of the UK, asked Keir Starmer, the current leader of the Labour Party, to which Sadiq Khan is a member of, and said, will you condemn his disgraceful words? Have a watch at what they both said.
This morning, and he also talked about his new mayor in London. So just this morning, we've learned that the Labour mayor in London believes, and I quote, that there is an equivalence between the brutal terrorist attack of Hamas and Israel defending itself. And let me be crystal clear, there is absolutely no equivalence between a terrorist coup and a democratic state. So can I ask him now, will he take this opportunity to demonstrate that that Labour Party has changed? And will he condemn those comments from the Labour mayor?
Well, I know that was the last run out before the general election, but he's getting ahead of himself in asking me questions. But Mr. Speaker, I notice he didn't even attempt to answer the question. He knows the answer. Since he claimed victory 16 days ago, there have been a staggering 2,400 small boat crossings. 2,400! That's a gimmick, not a deterrent. And those 2,400 will be added to the tourist asylum perma backlog, which is forecast to rise to 100,000 by the end of this year. Now, the Prime Minister pretends he will remove them all to Rwanda. But Rwanda can only take a few hundred a year. At that rate, the Prime Minister's grand plan would take over 300 years to remove them all. Mr. Speaker, that's tens of thousands of people with their claims going unprocessed, who are going to be here for their entire lifetime living in hotels at the taxpayers' expense. It is absurd to call that anything other than an amnesty handed to them by the Tory party, isn't it?
He doesn't answer, doesn't respond.
Mr. Speaker, he had the opportunity to condemn the comments of his mayor, a mayor who said that there is an equivalence between Hamas and Israel. He did not do that, and everyone will see what that is. That is the Change Labour Party, Mr. Speaker, right there.
Absolutely. Let's just be clear. Israel is a nation state that was legally established, that it's the ancestral indigenous homeland of the Jewish people. It was established with global approval, and it only saw the displacement of the Arabs living in the West Bank and Gaza when they chose not to accept a partition plan. The displacement only occurred after they said, no, we're wiping Israel off the map. We don't see that you have any right to a state, even though the only previous sovereign state was a Jewish one. Meanwhile, you have Hamas, which is an explicitly genocidal organization whose leaders, both past and present, have said, we want to kill the Jews, not just in Israel, but throughout the world, who go out of their way to target innocent Jews, Israeli civilians. That's what they did on October 7th. And Israel, by any standard, any fair objective standard, is going after Hamas, this terrorist organization. And quite frankly, to claim that Israel is equivalent to this anti-Semitic genocidal terror organization is to be engaging in anti-Semitism, because you're demonizing the Jewish people. You're demonizing and trying to undermine their right to basic self-defense, to be allowed to live. They have shown more surgical precision than any army has ever in the history of urban warfare. I'm not even saying that I endorse it, by the way, because so many Israelis, soldiers have had to die on the altar of protecting enemy civilians, even though the vast majority are complicit with Hamas. Of course, there are innocents in Gaza, of course, but I don't see why we should be putting our people, making them sacrifice more in order to protect an enemy society that is, as IDF soldiers have said, have weapons in every single home, The equivalence is anti-Semitic. I'm sure it would fall foul of the IHRA definition. And the fact that Sadiq Khan has said this, the Mayor of London, the Labour Mayor of London, and the fact that Keir Starmer, who has said he was going to root out anti-Semitism by its roots, right? And he can't even condemn this. It's very telling. It's very telling, and it shows that the Labour Party feel that they have to appease the Jew haters. They have to appease those who wish to see Israel gone. And let's not forget, while Keir Starmer has tried to make changes, in his developed adult political life, he was standing as a senior member of Jeremy Corbyn's cabinet, encouraging the British people to put him into office. We can't just ignore that. So people say, oh, well, I was just doing it for political, so I can be politically savvy and I want to take over the party, but I don't really believe in it. Well, really? We saw pictures of him being on platforms that were talking about getting out Israeli racism from politics, and alongside people that wanted to boycott Israel. I think that was at some kind of Camden Council meeting years ago. He clearly does have some involvement, some liaising with the anti-Israel brigade. But fine, we want to give him a chance to try and say that he'd do something, that he's going to change the party. This is a great example of him having the chance to say, I will not tolerate this equivalence, this demonization of Israel. And what's he done? He won't answer it. It's completely outrageous. And I think it should give all of us pause for thought over whether this really is a changed Labour Party. Thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.